Free up some storage.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, beautiful. All right, shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. First and foremost, we're going to start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh,
Well,
Bahashem, Yahweh Shai,
Shai,
Bahashem,
Hashem, Rachapadash.
Rakakadash, Salaki. And double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well
Mhm.
and have taught this word in truth and sincerity. All right, and peace and mercy to the whole full elect, starting with 144,000. That's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. All right. So I'm your fellow servant Amath, and I got with me the elder brother Malak. And we're of GMS Toronto, coming at you again with another live lesson. All right, and this is going to be another edition of Doomsday Prophecies, as you know, we tie world events to Bible prophecy. Okay, and we're damn near at the end of Bible prophecy in the sense of the downfall of Babylon the Great, which is America, aka prophetically, spiritually America, okay, and the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, as well as the MOTB. That is the next major prophecy, is the MOTB, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip. And you already have people throughout the four corners of the earth that are already chipped. Okay, go look that up for yourself. Okay, don't take my word for it, or take my word for it. I know what I'm saying is the truth. You got people who are already tripped, all right, across the four corners of the earth. But there's going to be an event, okay, a black swan event, okay, that will cause the world, as the prophecy dictates, the world, all right, to take the chip. And those who don't take the chip are the hopeful elect. Okay, those are the hopeful elect. So all roads right now are leading to the mark of the beast, which is also and also the downfall and the deliverance, the downfall of America and the deliverance of the Israelites, starting with the elect, really, on this side. Real quick, let me get that precept. Matter of fact, let's go here, Revelation 3. Okay, so Revelation 3 and 10, okay? And this is
Mhm.
in the King James. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, right? So we clung to this truth, and ultimately we didn't bow the knee to Esau, Edom, and take the chip, okay? It says, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, okay? Slack, let me read that again. It says, Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept kept the word of my patience, right? So basically, we didn't take our hands off the plow, okay? Which is teaching this word day in and day out, in season, out of season, okay? I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, okay? Which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, okay? And the hour of temptation is that time where uh, um, this devil will come down having great wrath, okay, and knowing that he has a short time, okay, and he's going to be chipping everybody, and if they reject the chip, guess what? He's going to put them to death. He's going to kill them, okay. But the Lord, as He said, He will keep us, the whole full from that time, the hour of temptation, which means He's going to be with us via the Holy Spirit, okay. And it says, verse 11, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou
Mhm.
hast, that no man take that crown. And what is that? This truth. Okay.
That's right.
Hold on to this truth as it is. Okay. And as it has been taught to us.
Beautiful.
Okay. Because there's a lot of confusion. More confusion is going to rise up as we get closer and closer to the hour of temptation. Okay. Like Apostle Har says, this is going to cause a major shakeup among the world, but especially among Israel. Okay, because the majority of Israel reject the mark of the beast for what it really is, which is the horrified Egypt.
That's right.
Okay. All right. You got something you want to bring out? And then we'll get this clip.
Khan. Yeah, before we get into it, beautiful. Perfect, because I'm going to go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, and I'd like to read the first 3 verses. Okay, because, going into the title, the sudden fall of Babylon, the destruction of Babylon, America is finished. So, with the elect going into the hour of temptation and how the Lord is going to bring the elect through this. So, real quick. So, this is Wisdom of Solomon, KJV. And I'm going to read from the first verse to about the third or fourth verse. It says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors." Simply put, definitely we're coming into that time, but this is really going into deliverance, right? Only the righteous is going to be standing in great boldness in the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? And this is talking about deliverance here. Okay.
Well, what about the labors though, right?
No, yeah.
Address the labors, right?
Well, that's right.
What's the major labor?
Beautiful.
That they're not taking account of, right? Is the prophesying.
That's right.
Okay, we get into how this also applies to what's it called? All the inventions and creation that Jake's been a part of, right? But the top office, right, on the planet Earth is that of a prophet, and that's the one thing our people scoff at the most. It's the prophecy.
Yeah,
it's the prophecies.
100%. And thought of that. And you went into it in the opening a little bit, but thought of it going into it a little bit more. And so, verse 2, Wisdom of Solomon 5:2, it says, "When they see it, they shall be troubled, okay, with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation." So yes, the destruction of Babylon, all these things, but here's the deliverance. It's going to be a strange act. Okay, something that's strange when that chariot picks up the chariots. Pick up the elect. Okay, and that chariot, the white horse that is there. Okay, and people are going to be begging in vain to be beamed up. Okay, I'll read that again real quick. It says, "When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed." Oh, Salaka, go ahead, brother.
Hold on a second. Yeah, read that again. Read it again.
Yeah, I'll read it again. It says, "When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for." Okay. Actually, that's all I'm going to read on that. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm not going to go into that part of it. Might come back to that later. But yes, destruction to this place and deliverance for the Lord's elect. That's what the Lord says, right? Judgment with mercy, and then no mercy to 2/3 and to the wicked.
Yep.
That's it.
It's also going to be strange because this has never happened before.
Right.
And we were in Egypt. We fled on foot.
Nothing
there was
like
a chariot there, and that was the Yahushai in that chariot.
That's right.
But we are now escaping the second exodus out of prophetic and spiritual Egypt, being America, via up. Okay, the chariots up, because the destruction that's coming from this place is going to be thermonuclear fire, and Esau is not going to allow no Jake in his bunkers. Okay, but so the only way for the whole flock to escape this is up to them chariots. So this has never happened before. So it's going to be very strange to the world. Even the whole full elect, in a sense of they're going to be in awe. But this is what they're looking for, regardless. So this clip here, this is from Economy Rewind, right? It says BRICS shocks world with game-changing digital currency. Okay, and that currency is called a unit. Okay, so we're going to play some of this clip and then get some precepts. And this is fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. We are not receiving any monetization for this video. All right. We're only sharing this video for educational purposes only. All right. So fair use, fair use, fair use.
Going to reshape the entire global financial system. Something just happened in January 2026 that's going to reshape the entire global financial system. And it didn't come from Washington, Wall Street, or the Federal Reserve. It came from the BRICS alliance: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Saudi Arabia and Egypt. They just flipped the switch on their new international currency system. They're calling it the unit. And as of right now, it's live and operational for cross-border trade settlements. Let me be completely clear about what this means. This isn't a proposal. This isn't a trial run. This isn't coming soon. The unit is functioning right now as a real alternative payment system that allows these countries to conduct massive trade transactions without touching a single US dollar. For your entire lifetime, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of
Slovakia.
global commerce. Without the unit is functionally clear about what this means. This isn't a proposal. This isn't a trial run. This isn't coming soon. The unit is functioning right now as a real alternative payment system that allows these countries to conduct massive trade transactions without touching a single US dollar. For your entire lifetime, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of global commerce. Nearly everything bought, sold, or traded internationally was priced and settled in dollars. It was the only system that mattered, the only game worth playing. What just fundamentally changed? BRICS didn't attack the old system. They built a completely separate one. They created their own financial infrastructure, their own rails, their own settlement mechanism, and they just opened it for business to nearly half the world's population. They haven't destroyed the dollar-based system, at least not yet, but for the first time in 80 years, they've created a legitimate operational alternative backed by the world's fastest growing economies and largest populations. The era of the dollar having zero competition just ended. The monopoly is broken. So how does this unit actually function? What makes it different from just using existing currencies? The design itself is
Right. So, he said a lot in the first minute and 30 seconds, but everything he said is Bible prophecy, right? As the topic of this lesson is deceived by those who ate your bread. Okay. Now he had mentioned how the dominance of the dollar, all right, is now being challenged by the BRICS unit. Okay. And the BRICS unit globally comprises of 46% of the global population. So that's huge. And you're going to see, okay, how this is going to lead to the mark of the beast, the MOTB, totally, ultimately, because at the end of the day, if the dollar crashes, the world financial system crashes.
That's
Okay.
right.
And this is why you see these nations allying with one another, banding together and doing trade, all right, among themselves, all right, with their own currencies that are backed by gold, silver, and other resources, because they see the collapse, they see the downfall, all right, and by the end of it all, they still want to have a leg to stand on, okay, but all this is going to lead to what? The chip, okay, because once there's no more global financial system, all right, and people are rioting as that's starting now. All right, the remedy that's going to be presented, so-called remedy, is going to be the RFID chip. We're going to do everything digitally. Okay. Now let's get this precept. I got this precept here in Jeremiah 51 and 7. So Jeremiah 51 and 7 in the King James, it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. Okay. And the wine, all right, goes into the philosophies, okay, culturally, the cultural influence, educational influence, and the financial influence. all right, of Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay. Now, when you get this word mad, okay, in the Hebrew,
It says,
Slacker, the word, the word mad there is, it's actually halal, okay, which we know that means holy, right? Um, yeah. So, anyways, Slacker. So, anyways, right? The definition here, it says what? To shine. To shine. It says to praise, to boast, be boastful. Okay.
mhm,
To praise, to boast, to be
proud.
boastful. So when we go back and we read this, Jeremiah, when we go back, Jeremiah 51:8, it says Babylon, oh, verse 7, Slack, it says Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hands that made the whole earth drunken. So it was attractive. Okay, right? That the nations have, sorry, the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, which means they're boastful, they're proud,
Proud.
right? Because when you go into Revelation, as you read that word in we read the definition of that word halal. Now when we go to Revelation real quick, Revelation 17, this is the time we're in, Revelation 17 and 17 tells us and this happened through the look up the Bretton Woods system. Okay, that's how America started its dominance financially. All right. Um, it says here, Revelation 17:17, for Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will,
Mhm,
to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. And that's what they did during the Bretton Woods system, where um, all global currencies were tied to the dollar
mhm.
on the basis that the dollar was backed by gold. Okay. So that's what they did. And now you're seeing these nations in the spirit of what? Well, the spirit of turning on Babylon the Great, because they were drunk, and then also twofoldly, even though we know that word means to shine and to boast, they're
Mhm.
also sobering up. Okay, these nations are sobering up. They're waking up to, all right, the uh, uh how can I say it? The
They're waking up
well,
to
they're
their
just waking
drunken
up.
state.
Yeah, well, they're just sobering up. They're just
Yeah.
sobering up. It's as simple as I can make it, right? They're
Mhm,
sobering up from that wine. And ultimately, that's because
mhm.
America has been exposed through the prophets worldwide by this truth. Okay. Verse 16, I'll go up. It says, the 10 horns, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So that's what this is going to lead to ultimately. It's going to lead to world war. Okay, but the main point here is was verse 17 and 17, where it talked about again, for Yahweh hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh, Bashim al Shai, shall be fulfilled. All right. That's that Bretton Woods system. Going back here to Jeremiah 51:7, as well as Revelation 17:17 will play out
That's right.
through the chip as well. Okay. Because best believe all these nations are going to adopt a digital currency. Okay. They're going to adopt a digital economy. Okay. A technocracy. It's already formulating. Back here in Jeremiah 51:7, it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Okay, it says Babylon, verse 8, is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. Okay, if so be, she may be healed. And there is no healing for this hope.
That's
Okay,
right.
there is no healing, absolutely none, for America, aka Babylon the Great. Okay, it says here, verse 9, we would have healed Babylon. So they've tried, right? And one of the ways that they've tried, okay, which you're not healing anything by this, but is quantitative easing. Look that up. Quantitative easing, and that's a fancy word, right? That just explains them printing more and more cash, more and more currency. Why? Because the demand of the currency itself globally is so high. So America can get away with printing more paper dollars than they actually have backing too, which is debt going into that thick clay. Okay. So there is no healing for America. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone to his own country. And people are leaving America, man. People are leaving America and they're leaving Canada. Okay. For her judgment reaches onto heaven. All right. So the angels, the Most High, Yahushua, and the angels are talking about the wickedness and the downfall and destroying America in the heavens right now, and is lifted up even to the skies. Okay. In the NLT, it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, a cup that made the whole earth drunk. The nations drank Babylon's wine, and it drove them all mad. But suddenly Babylon too has fallen. Weep for her, give her medicine. Perhaps she can yet be healed. We would have helped her if we could, but nothing can save her now.
That's right.
Let her go,
Judgment.
abandon her, return now to your own land, for her punishment reaches to the heavens. It is so great, it cannot be measured. Okay? And
Wow.
all kinds of manners of wickedness happen in Babylon the Great daily
Mm-mm.
that we don't even, that we couldn't even really comprehend in these bodies. All right? Let that swirl around in your mind for a second. That's serious wickedness. All right, one more here.
Take your time.
This is Revelation 18 and 3.
Beautiful.
It tells us here, the King James, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth, right, the
Ooh,
prime ministers and world leaders and rulers, have committed fornication.
that's right.
And how do they commit fornication? Financially. All right, they've done it financially,
Spiritually.
culturally, educationally, and
Mm-hmm.
spiritually. Okay, with her, and the merchants of the earth, right, are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. NLT, it says, for all the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passionate immorality. The kings of the world have committed adultery with her because of her desires of extravagant luxury. Okay, and this is what made America a golden cup in the Lord's hand for the whole world, all right, to wonder at. Okay, now this was the so-called land of the free, really of the Freemasons, but the rest of the people are slaves. But when you came here, all right, or when you saw America off a television screen, all right, you were seduced. I
Mm-hmm.
got to come live here. I got to go over there. I can make money there. I can live the American so-called American dream, which is turning out, all right, as it always was, to be a nightmare. Okay. It says the merchants of the world have grown rich. Yeah, they've
Mm-hmm.
made lots of money off of America because
That's right.
America,
Starting.
all right,
Okay.
is a consumer. It's really the top consuming nation on the planet Earth. Okay, all people do in America is consume, consume, consume. Damn near 90%, if not everything, is imported, even though you don't need to. Even though it's not needed, it's imported. Why? Because these merchants are making money. All right. They're making money off of America and the people of America. I'm going to jump
Right.
down and we're going to read verse 7 and verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
It says here, how, in the King James, it says, how much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously.
See?
So
Mhm.
much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, and this is the spirit of America, all right, the mentality from the rulers on down. I sit as a queen and am no widow and and see no sorrow. And of course, 2/3 of our people, right, have adopted this mentality and this spirit of Babylon the Great, aka America. And this is why they make no account of what you read in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, right, verse 1. It says, then shall the righteous stand in great boldness there
Boldness.
before the faces of such that have afflicted him. And where were the Israelites greatly afflicted? In America,
That's
Babylon
right.
the Great,
That's right.
and made no account of his labors. All
Mhm.
right, that top labor being prophecy. Okay, especially from our own people.
The great city which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. All right, back in Revelation 17 or 18:7, I'll read it again. I'll read it in an NLT. It says, she glorified herself, lived in luxury so much, or so match it now with torment and sorrow. She boasted, and that's what's coming for America, is torment and sorrow to the highest degree. Remember, we read that her sins have reached onto heaven. Okay? So you can only imagine the judgments that the Lord has. And we know it. It's in the scriptures, but it's one thing to read something and to know it. All right, it's another thing to actually live it. Okay. So it says, she boasted in her heart, I am a queen on my throne. I am no helpless widow, and I have no reason to mourn. And that's the people. All right. That's the average, everyday, all right, Babylonian in America. Even though you have the prophets out there on the highways and byways, on the internet daily, warning our people about the downfall and the destruction of America being right around the corner, the spirit of I am a widow, I am no helpless widow, I have no reason to mourn, right? Which is pride, okay, ultimately, is still rampant in America. But we know what the scriptures say about pride,
That's right.
right? Pride comes
It
before
goes before the
destruction.
fall.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Wow.
Okay, so verse 8, it says, therefore these plagues, you see? So because of that spirit, right, that pride, therefore these plagues will overtake her in a single day. You see? Sudden, okay? Sudden destruction. Even though really and truly the downfall has been like a domino effect over time, right? But no one has been paying attention until now, because now we're closer to that last domino falling. Okay, it's about 2 more dominoes left, so to speak, and that's it. And the whole thing falls. The whole thing collapses. Okay, but it's
That's
been
right.
happening for decades. Really, it's been slowly eroding and decaying from the inside out. Therefore, these plagues will overtake her in a single day: death and mourning and famine. She will be completely consumed by fire. For the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yashai, have who judges her is mighty. And it says, the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and
That's right.
enjoyed her great luxury, and this is in the NLT, will mourn for her as they see the smoke rising from her charred remains. Damn, because that's going to be a cataclysmic destruction, man. Okay, that's going to be a heavy destruction. That's that lake of fire, by the way.
That's right.
That's it on that.
Beautiful.
I'll
Poet.
bring out chat after. Or you know what, Salaki, I know you got something. Let me
No,
quickly bring this out.
take your time. Bring that out, because this is just a beautiful poetic justice. I'm going to say that, and you bring it out, brother.
Fine.
Poetic
So this
justice.
is in chat, right?
Take your time.
Going into the golden cup, what we read in Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked it a couple questions, and it says here, it says the symbol, right? Babylon's golden cup. It says gold equals wealth, prestige, power, admiration, cup, distribution system, wine, influence that alters judgment. Wine in scriptures doesn't just intoxicate the body, it intoxicates the mind. Babylon didn't conquer by sword first. She conquered by seduction. And that's true when you think about it. Even though there was a lot of
That's right.
wars in the building of America, and since its creation, it's spent the majority of its time in war. But that's just because that's a part of Esau's blessing. It's a sword. All right. But guess what? He's patterned after who? The serpent in the garden, which is patterned after the spiritual demon Satan.
That's right.
Okay. So the tongue is also another weapon, another tool that they use, and they've used Babylon, all right, as that tongue, okay, to seduce the world. It says here, Babylon's wine, and now, it's like Babylon's wine, then and now. Babylon's wine was not grapes, it was ideology wrapped in luxury,
See?
right? Ideology wrapped in luxury. Ancient Babylon spread economic dependence, cultural imitation, political submission, religious corruption. Nations drank it because it tastes good, right? It says same pattern today, different label. It says U.S., the modern parallel, America as system, not people. This is important. Scripture judges systems, not everyday citizens, but it does judge everyday citizens. America's functions globally the same way Babylon once did, not by armies first, but by influence pipelines. And we get into the finance aspect. It says, finance, the strongest wine. The
Mm-hmm.
world drinks first through money,
That's right.
right? Dollar dominance, debt systems, IMF, right, which is the International Monetary Fund,
Mm-hmm.
World Bank pressure, right, sanctions as weapons, and that's basically what started the BRICS. Is that major sanction that they had on Russia in 2022, and once the world saw Russia, all right, perform trade, dollar free trade. All right, that opened the eyes of the rest of the world. Like, oh shit, you can still survive outside of the American dollar. Okay. It says nations survive by American finance, but dependence breeds resentment. You see? And that's what we're witnessing. This is what the creation of BRICS is. All right,
Beautiful.
is resentment and an
Mm-hmm.
FU to this whore, America. They drank and now they're sick. Just like Babylon, the nations have drunken, therefore they are mad. Yeah. And we know what that word mad in the Hebrew goes into. All right. But it says here, mad means unstable, furious, and unpredictable. And that's what we're in right now. We're not necessarily in an unpredictable time because the prophets know what's going on. But for everybody else, it's unpredictable. But it is definitely unstable.
That's right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good time.
Here's the last bit here. It says here, the turning. What it says the turning. When the drunk turn violent. Here's the turning point in prophecy. Babylon makes the nations drunk, then the nations turn on Babylon. Later in the same chapter, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Jeremiah 51:9. Sound familiar? Allies pulling away, trade blocks forming without the dollar, nations openly challenging U.S. dominance, former partners becoming rivals. They drank, Now they spit, they drank, now they spit the cup out. Okay, because intoxication always ends in anger. They
Mm-hmm.
realize they lost sovereignty. That's right. They lost culture. That's right.
Oh,
They lost stability. That's right.
mm-hmm.
They lost moral footing. And that is right. And when people wake up hungover, they look for someone to blame. Babylon becomes the target, and DJ Trump, aka Nero, is doing a beautiful job of isolating America from the rest of the world. Okay, especially
Beautiful.
through these tariffs, because through these tariffs, all right, that he's administering, all these other nations have a reason to blame, all right, their the downfall of their economy on America. Okay, all that does, tariffs, it just ruins the Americans. If they didn't already go out there and tell you what a tariff really is. It's a tax on the people in America of goods in America that Americans use, but they come from other nations.
No balm for the pain. There's no getting out of it.
Yep. Okay. This is the last bit here.
Take your time.
I'm a little
It's all good.
long-winded,
That's
but it all has to come out. It says the
right.
warning, not an insult, a signal. Babylon always falls the same way, not by invasion first, but by loss of legitimacy. Legitimacy. When the world no longer believes in you, your gold turns to lead. That's right. Because it might have been gold on the outside, but on the inside, it's full of abominations. Okay. Jeremiah wasn't just talking about a city, he
That's
was
right.
describing how empires rot from influence
That's
overload.
right.
Too much wine, too much cups and raised, too much wine, too many cups raised, and too many minds altered. Then madness. That's right.
Straight.
That's it on that.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. I have Psalm 76 on deck, and in my notes here, just gathering it, beautifully lined up. So you heard all the charges of Babylon. You hear all their crimes and how they're going to be judged. And Psalm 76, if you could go there, I'm going to start right in the middle of and just read to verse 12, NLT today, right? Because when you go into this wonderful Psalms, it was prophesying, right? It says a song to be accompanied by stringed instruments. And it says, Yahweh of power is honored in Judah. His name is great in Yashar Allah, it says, right? And I'm going to go right into the middle of the verse, starting at verse 8. Actually, start at verse 7 from the NLT today.
Yep, you can read it.
Yeah.
Just read it.
All right. The point is in the 12th verse, actually. It says, no wonder you are greatly feared. Who can stand before you when your anger explodes, right? Babylon is suddenly fallen. Anyway, we're going through that process, but there's going to be a big impact. Verse 8, it says, from heaven, here it is, you're sentenced. You sentence your enemies, all right? Earth trembled and stood silent before you. It's coming again. Verse 9, Psalm 76 and 9. Take your time.
This is why we're prophesying, right, against the downfall of this place, because the censusing from heaven,
That's right,
has been made. So now, the prophets, being the witnesses and having the testimony, are testifying. Okay, the downfall of America, Babylon the Great.
That's right. Straight. Wow. Verse 9, Psalm 76 and 9. Oh, let me just finish verse 8. It says, if I finish fully, it says, from heaven you sentenced your enemies, the earth trembled and stood silent before you. Verse 9, you stand up to judge those who will do evil. O Yahweh our power, and to rescue the oppressed of the earth. Verse 10, right? It says here, I hate when you use that term. You have the split screen, you can see it. It says, human defiance only enhances your glory, for you see it as a weapon. So we talked about the height of his, we read from chat and so forth like that when we went into the scriptures, and then we read from chat in regards to these crimes, right? And it talks about the number one thing that, I think it was finance, and morally they're proud. These machines are proud. These people are proud. Okay, built in. Right, but the Lord is going to use that as a weapon. Simply
Yep.
put. Okay, it's the
Yeah,
downfall. Go ahead. Take your time.
well, it says human defiance only enhances your glory, or you use it as a weapon. And this is what he did with ancient Egypt, right? He told Moses that I'm gonna tell you to tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. But I'm gonna make Pharaoh stubborn, proud,
That's right.
harden his heart up so I can magnify my name.
That's right.
So that's what the Lord is doing with America. All right. 2/3 of our people, and he saw even the heathens. He's letting them and increasing, all right, their proudness and their pride, so that he could use it as a weapon on them and glorify his name and his son's name.
Straight. Psalm 76 and 11. Make vows to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua our power and keep them. Let every one bring tribute to the awesome one. Right? And here it is, final verse, Psalm 76 and 12. It says, for he breaks the pride of princes, and the kings of the earth fear him. So yes, going into that bricks and stuff, and Babylon, we know they fear him, right? We know they fear him, and our power is going to definitely bring that to pass. So actually, it's for the elect to witness that on this side, witness his power. Simply put, over these, creatures that he created. But anyway, that's it, brother.
Fine. So we'll go back here in this clip.
Is the entire strategy, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. It is built on two foundational pillars that address the two biggest concerns countries have about any new currency: stability and sovereignty. First pillar, gold backing. A full 40% of the unit's value is pegged directly to physical gold held in secure vaults across BRICS nations. This isn't paper gold. This isn't gold certificates or ETFs. This is actual physical metal that can be audited and verified. This is their way of saying to the world, this currency is anchored to something real, something that has held value for 5,000 years, something the entire planet already trusts regardless of politics. It's their credibility anchor. And the other 60%, and this is where the strategy gets really sophisticated, is backed by a weighted basket of BRICS national currencies: Chinese yuan, Indian rupee, Russian ruble, Brazilian real, South African rand. This is their big bet on the future. This component says our combined economic power, our natural resources, our manufacturing capacity, our growing consumer markets, our combined GDP of over $28 trillion, that's strong enough to support a global reserve currency. So the unit is engineered as 40% safety through ancient trusted gold and 60% growth potential through the rising economic power of the developing world. Together, it's designed to be both stable enough to trust and dynamic enough to appreciate as these economies grow. This isn't just a new payment method. This is a direct structural challenge to the way global money has functioned since Bretton Woods in 1944. So why now? Why did these nations decide that January 2026 was the moment to launch their own monetary system?
Big day tomorrow, huh?
What was the trigger? The answer.
Say it again.
Big day tomorrow, January 26th.
Yeah. Fine. That's why we're doing this lesson right now.
We're in it. Yeah, we're actually in it. Go ahead.
February 2022.
Yeah.
After Russia's monetary system. What was the trigger? The answer is February 2022. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Western nations led by the United States did something unprecedented in modern financial history. They froze over $300 billion of Russia's foreign currency reserves, money Russia had accumulated over decades and stored in Western banks. Hundreds of billions of dollars just locked away, made inaccessible with the stroke of a pen. For every other major country watching, especially those that sometimes had policy disagreements with Washington or Brussels, this was an absolute wake-up call, a terrifying one, It demonstrated in the starkest possible terms that the entire global financial system, the architecture built on dollars, euros, and Western banking infrastructure, could be weaponized against you. If your reserves are held in their system, they control your wealth.
Exactly, right? So this man, they weaponize the dollar, right? They have their military, but then there's also the influence factor in terms of their philosophies, right? Culturally and educationally as well. That's the tongue. The serpent had a forked tongue.
Right.
If it could happen to Russia, a nuclear-armed G20, if your reserves are held in their system, they control your wealth. And if it could happen to Russia, a nuclear-armed G20 economy, it could happen to anyone. Saudi Arabia watched, China watched, India watched, Indonesia watched, Turkey watched, and they all thought the same thing. We're vulnerable. Our national savings could be deleted overnight if we crossed the wrong line.
Exactly. So that was the spirit of the Lord to jump on Trump, to start going crazy with these tariffs.
Rule Lord.
Because all it did, is it exposed how America can weaponize the dollar to control these other countries, right? As he's saying, all these other nations watched what America did with Russia, okay, and ultimately it exposed America.
It could happen to anyone. Saudi Arabia watched, China watched, India watched, Indonesia watched, Turkey watched, and they all thought the same thing. We're vulnerable. Our national savings could be deleted overnight if we crossed the wrong line. Finding a plan B went from a quiet diplomatic discussion to an urgent national security priority. The unit is that plan B made operational. It's not about starting a financial war with the West. It's about building a financial shield. They're constructing a parallel network where
but it's going to turn into war. That's the thing, all right, that these third witnesses don't understand. Is that this will turn into war. This will lead to Third World War.
Their reserves, their economic sovereignty cannot be frozen, sanctioned,
War
or
the machines.
who don't share their interests. It's a direct response to a single powerful lesson. If you don't control the financial system you operate in, that system can be used to control you. Now you might be thinking, this sounds good.
Exactly. So it sent a powerful message. It stopped the red at 441. Call all y'all Bashim El Shah.
That's right.
Let me get two precepts here. Let's go to Obadiah. Okay. One chapter long. And Obadiah 1 and 1. Okay, and we're going to read to 7. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh power concerning Edom. Okay. Now, the land of America can be spiritually and prophetically called Edom, because that's the capital city of the Edomite Empire, also known as Bozrah spiritually. Okay. Idumea, you'll see that as a Greek way of saying Edom. So it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh power concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise, ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Okay. And that ambassador would be Russia. Okay. As it says, an ambassador is sent among the heathens. Arise, ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. And who's leading the charge? All right, with that mindset among the nations, Russia and China, prophetically. Okay. NLT says, this is the vision that the sovereign Lord Yahweh revealed to Obadiah concerning the land of Edom. Okay. Prophetically America. We have heard a message from the Lord Yahweh that an ambassador was sent to the nations. Salaki. It says, we have heard a message from the Lord Yahweh that an ambassador was sent to the nations to say, get ready, everyone, let's assemble our armies and attack Edom. Okay. It says, and what we're witnessing with BRICS, and the creation of the BRICS unit, which is a new currency, this is a financial war, okay, or economic war. And then it's going to turn into a military war, all right, that includes ICBM missiles. Okay. But like I said earlier, all right, the collapse and the downfall of the American dollar is going to lead, all right, to the chip, the hour of temptation, the MOTB, Revelation 13 to 16 on down. Okay. Because when you go a little deeper, the leaders of all these nations throughout the world, all right, they all are working together to bring about that new world order, to bring about the new world order via the RFID chip. Okay, so they're all getting the same script, but nevertheless, at the same time, the house is divided from the top down. Okay, so it says, "Behold, verse 2, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou greatly despised." And you know what? I'm actually going to continue in the NLT down to verse 7. It says, "The Lord says to Edom, I will cut you down to size among the nations. You will be greatly despised. You have been deceived by your own pride because you live in a rock fortress and make your home high in the mountains. Who can ever reach way up here? You ask boastfully," right? And the Edomites, and primarily Amalek, they actually live like this. Okay, ancient in the ancient world. Okay, so that's just the spirit they got. But in King James says, "The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Thou shalt exalt thyself as," this is in the King James, "as the eagle. And though thou set thy nest among the stars," right, going to their space stations or satellite systems out there, because the Lord said, well, actually, I was about to quote what I'm reading. It says, "Thence will I bring thee down," right, saith the Lord, starting with the Apollo missions, so-called. Okay, as soon as they decided to set up those satellite systems up there and go on those Apollo missions, this is when the Lord said, "I'm gonna start bringing you down," which was when 1969, 1970s, and that's exactly what came up. So that's prophetic, man. That's a prophetic line.
That's right.
It says, "But when," oh no, verse 5, it says, "If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off?" It says, "Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes?" NLT says, "If these came at night and robbed you, what a disaster awaits you." Okay, because this will happen at night in a sense of to the unawares of to the American people. Okay, because they're not concerned about any of this. All right, they're concerned about all the little different psyops that Esau's orchestrating instead of focusing on the global what's it called? Or rather, focus. They're caught up in the mix. All right, the majority of people are caught up in the mix of the psyops and not understanding what these psyops are leading to. Okay, and that's where the prophets come in. So it says, "If these came at night and robbed you, what a disaster awaits you. They will not take everything. Those who harvest grapes always leave a few for the poor, but your enemies will wipe you out completely." Right, verse 6, "Every nook and cranny of Edom will be searched and looted, every treasure will be found and taken." King James, it says, how are the things of Esau searched out?" And this is going into Esau being exposed, okay? And also these nations waking up, sobering up from the wine of Babylon the Great. How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy, all right, your allies, have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. That's what the BRICS nation is. Okay. And prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread. Slacky, what did you say?
No, I said payback is a bitch. All the businesses, right, that they used to do with Babylon, right? And like you said, they're sobering up. Prophecy says they're sobering up. and they're mad as ever, and they're going to come against you. Go ahead, brother. Finish first, sir.
Yeah, it says, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee.
See,
There is none understanding in him.
straight.
In the NLT says, all your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land, so to destroy you ultimately. It says they will promise and really to take over, because these nations are looking at themselves to be the next rulers, the next empires
Mm,
up.
wow.
No one's considering, all right, the government and this of David, the house of David. Okay, that's how the Most High likes it. Okay, he always the Most High loves the underdog. Okay, so anyhow, it says they will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will
Wow.
set traps for you, and you won't even know about it. See, so that's what we're witnessing with BRICS. Okay, that's it. Or you got something?
That's it for you.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. Well, pretty much, the book of Isaiah, we didn't touch it, the 13th chapter, but that's all good because it's saying the same thing that Obadiah saw. But specifically, I just wanted to read one verse and then one more other verse, jumping around in the book of the 13th chapter. The prophecy is I'm going to stir up the Medes and the Persians. I'm going to start the Medes, excuse me. Specific, that's a clue. Medes, not Medes and Persian, the Medes. So we know that it's doing end time. So it says, I was looking for it there. Salaki, brother. I'm scrolling through the book because it pretty much covered it. But you know what? Let me just.
Which one?
Where's I was just looking for that. Yeah, there it is. I'll just jump around. Here it is. It says, verse 17 of Isaiah 13. It says, "Look, I will stir up the Medes against Babylon. They cannot be tempted by gold, by silver, or be bribed with gold." Right. So simply put, you already broke it down. We don't have to go into. We know that Russians, right, are the leaders here. Okay.
Yeah.
Of the Medes, and excuse me, the Russians are the captain of the Medes, because that's an alliance going into the BRICS nations that are lined up with Russia. Okay, right, and then I'm just going to jump back up to the 13th verse, and this is all I'm going to read. It says, "For I will shake," Isaiah 13:13, "I will shake the heavens." As a matter of fact, I think the last lesson I was looking for this verse, it's in also the book of Hebrews. I think it's 12 and 28. It says, "For I will shake the heavens. The earth will move from out of its place. When the Lord of heaven's armies display his wrath in the day of his fierce anger," going into the nukes that he's going to command to be let off, and his appearance, okay, that brings destruction and deliverance. Okay.
That's right.
Hey, and Babylon's going to feel it along with the rest of the earth, right? Because those missiles are going to bring a terrible earthquake across the whole world. Okay, across the whole world. But Babylon will be that example of that special destruction that never to be inhabited anymore. That's all I got.
All right, so let's go back here. Finishing up. Last little bit here. Let's skip ahead. All right. Okay.
Demand for dollar-denominated assets. America can run enormous trade deficits year after year, importing far more than it exports, because other countries need to accumulate dollars to function in global trade. And most critically, the US can use access to the dollar system as an incredibly powerful geopolitical weapon through sanctions, asset freezes, and financial exclusion. The BRICS unit is a direct, calculated challenge to that entire arrangement. This isn't about the dollar collapsing next week or hyperinflation hitting next month. That's not how this plays out. Instead, the unit puts America's free ride on a timer. It creates erosion, not explosion. For the first time in modern history, there's a credible large-scale alternative system being built by major economies that offers countries a viable way to opt out of dollar dependency. The unit creates choice where previously there was monopoly. And every time a country chooses to settle even a portion of their trade in units instead of dollars, it incrementally reduces the global demand for dollars that underpins American financial power. If enough countries make that choice, even for just some of their transactions, it slowly but inexorably chips away at the exorbitant privilege. The US isn't facing a sudden catastrophic crash. What America faces is the very real beginning of a gradual, persistent erosion of its most powerful economic advantage. And once that erosion starts and gains momentum, it's nearly impossible to reverse because the benefits of the alternative become self-reinforcing. But here's what might be.
Once the erosion stops, it's impossible. Once it starts, it's impossible to stop it. The erosion.
Okay.
Now, he had mentioned how it's not going to be sudden, but it's going to be sudden to everybody because no one is actually
The most
paying attention.
strategic implication. The unit's impact on
No one's actually really paying attention. Okay.
That's
So
right.
it will catch these people unawares and it will
Absolutely.
be sudden to them.
Absolutely. If there's
Um,
evil done in the city, has the Lord not done it?
Exactly. Yep.
They don't know who
Exactly.
they're fighting against. But anyway, go ahead, brother.
You know what? I wanna also, he explained something called exorbitant spending, and I want to just play that to highlight the debt aspect of the dollar. So let's go here.
if the unit achieves widespread adoption. It's straightforward supply and demand mathematics. You have massive dollars, gold prices, demand for gold back. But if the unit is gold buyers and producers, China, Russia, India, they've been stacking gold for years. But if the unit gains serious adoption, if more countries join and more trade flows through the system, the demand for gold backing could go exponential. This is why major financial institutions like JP Morgan are forecasting gold prices hitting $5,000 per ounce by late 2026. Some analysts are projecting $8,000 or higher if the unit achieves widespread adoption. It's straightforward supply and demand math.
And that's major sign, right? When you see gold prices going up and silver prices going up like they are, that's showing you that world leaders can see a global crash of the dollar. And this is why they're buying so much gold and storing so much gold and silver. Because, like I said, when the storm settles, so to speak, or the dust settle, so to speak, they want to have a leg to stand on. Okay.
The new money system is just around the corner.
Exactly.
Go ahead, brother.
That's right.
Demand from BRICS central banks needing to back and expanding.
And then also, these nations are fighting again to be that next empire in the new global system, because the new economic global system is going to be a digital system. All these other nations see themselves at the head, right, or rather the hegemony of that new global system, digital system.
That's right.
Currency system, meeting relatively fixed global supply of physical gold. The unit isn't just a currency innovation, it's a potential structural game changer for gold prices. Every transaction settled in units requires gold backing. More units means more gold demand. And we're talking about a system that could eventually handle trillions in trade annually. So what does all of this actually mean for the United States? To understand the implications, we need to understand a concept that most Americans don't even know exists, but benefit from every day. Economists call it the exorbitant privilege of the dollar.
The exorbitant privilege of the dollar, right? And exorbitant really just means excess.
That's right.
Okay. Let me just quickly get it. Right, so exorbitant, right? X meaning, it says a legal term. It says deviating from rule or principle, eccentric. It says exorbitare, deviate, go out of track, right? X meaning out, orbita, or out of. Orbita means wheel, track. So they go off the track, they go outside of the lines, right? And also says excess, excessive. So what was excessive? Well, the printing of the dollar, constantly printing more fiat currency, just because there's a global demand for the currency. That's this devil, man, and that's what you call fornication. And it's also an abomination. And these other nations, okay, or slack it, it's an abomination because that's a false balance,
That's right.
right? Printing more dollars than you have gold to back it up or anything to back it up just because it's in great demand, it's a false balance. The law calls that an abomination. But the other nations have adopted that same idea and did the same thing. When you just go look up all the other countries that have partaken in quantitative easing. So that's that fornication. Okay. Why? Because they did it because they were getting rich. That's why. They were getting rich. So let's go back here.
Here's how it works in simple terms. Benefit from every day. Economists call it the exorbitant privilege of the dollar. Here's how it works in simple terms. Because virtually the entire world uses US dollars for international trade and central banks hold dollars as reserves, the United States gets massive financial benefits that no other country enjoys. The US can borrow money more easily and more cheaply than anyone else because there's always global demand for dollar-denominated assets. America can run enormous trade deficits year after year, importing far more than it exports, because other countries need to accumulate dollars to function in global trade. And most critically, the US can use access to the dollar system as an incredibly powerful geopolitical weapon through sanctions, asset freezes, and financial exclusion. The BRICS unit is a direct, calculated challenge to that entire arrangement. This isn't about the dollar collapsing next week or hyperinflation hitting next month. That's not how this plays out. Instead, the unit puts America's free ride on a timer. It creates erosion, not explosion. For the first time in modern history, there's a credible large-scale alternative.
And rather, it creates erosion to explosion. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be explosive. Okay. This will be an
Absolutely.
explosive downfall.
That's right.
Alternative system
Excess,
being built by major
exorbitant.
economies that offers countries a viable way to opt out of dollar dependency. The unit creates choice where previously there was monopoly. And every time a country chooses to settle even a portion of their trade in units instead of dollars, it incrementally reduces the global demand for dollars that underpins American financial power. If enough countries make that choice, even for just some of their transactions, it slowly but inexorably chips away at the exorbitant privilege. The US isn't facing a sudden catastrophic crash. What America faces is the very real beginning of a gradual, persistent erosion of its most powerful economic advantage. And once that erosion starts and gains momentum, it's nearly impossible to reverse because the benefits of the alternative become self-reinforcing. But
Exactly. No balm for the pain. All right.
That's right.
So these are my last two precepts.
Beautiful.
This is Habakkuk chapter 2, okay, verse 5. All right, and I'm going to read this. Yeah, we're reading King James. It says Habakkuk, and then I'll read it in NLT. So Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto himself all people. NLT, it says, wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouth as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied.
Never.
Okay, and this is why the scriptures liken the nations to being drunk with Babylon. They were drunk because they were making money. Can you imagine just being able to print your own currency, print your own wages, print your own paycheck? Right? They basically were giving each other blank checks, and then they were the ones signing it for themselves. It says, in their greed, they have gathered up many nations. You see? And this is how America has been able to do that financially. They've been able to gather up many nations by basically weaponizing the dollar, which the world relies on for international trade. Okay. And it continues to say, have gathered up many nations and swallowed many peoples. Okay. And he's gonna do this again via the chip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to just say of course, their money is of no value right now. What was coming to my mind real quick? You have your this is a country like Somalia and Ethiopia. If you can carry let's say $100 in a barrel, right? But there's countless amount of notes. That's how going into the swallowing up and devaluing their currency. And as you said, and prophesied, they've woken up to this. They've been woken up a long time, and they realize that they have to come together to go, to go against this man, right? Yeah, because the whole system is devalued, and you did bring it out in regards to the finances, right?
Yep.
It's the number one thing.
That's right.
The number one thing outside of outside of the slaves, that's the souls that are working, but that's the number one corruption. Go ahead, brother.
Yep. Well, that's how you create slaves, through debt.
Put them in debt.
Yep. It says Habakkuk 2 and 6, but soon their captives will taunt them. You see? All right? Their captives will taunt them.
That's right.
They will mock, starting with us. All right? We're also captives. Okay? But we're about, and it's the scripture say the captive hasteneth to be loose. Okay? That's starting with the prophets, the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. And guess what? These other nations too. They're looking to be loose, all right, by the dominance of the dollar. Okay. So it says, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow awaits you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? That's right. Verse 7. Suddenly your debtors, right? These other nations, because they're in debt because of the American dollar. Suddenly your debtors will take action. You hear that? We're witnessing prophecy play out right before our eyes, man. Okay. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling and helpless. You see that? And that's
right.
America right now. When you go into the BRICS accounts for, I think, almost 50% of the world's population. That's like almost 4 billion people. All right. And America, in terms of global trade, I think at once the American dollar accounted for like 70 to almost 80% of global trade. Now it's in the low 60s, entering into the 50s. So it's declining.
Yeah.
Okay. America's helpless. It says, because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled towns with violence.
It's
And
funny, as you keep going into it, I keep thinking of Minnesota, but continue, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Continue.
You know what? That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it on that.
Beautiful. That's all I got. Go ahead, man.
So this is the last precept here. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1. It says, now concerning how and when all these things will happen, dear brothers and sisters, we don't really need to write to you. Yeah, because we're only really speaking to ourselves. At this point, all right, in the game, we are only speaking to those that already have the truth. Everybody else is not listening. Okay.
The Lord's elect, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The elect. So it says, for you know quite well that the day of the Lord's return will come unexpectedly, like a thief in the night. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, right? And they just had at their Davos meeting the border of peace, okay, where Russia is actually on the board of peace. It's funny, okay. At the same time, Russia's spearheading BRICS. It says, when people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as a pregnant woman's labor pains begins, and there will be no escape.
That's right.
Okay, but you are in the dark of these things, dear brothers and sisters, and you won't be surprised when the day of the Lord Yahweh comes like a thief. Yeah, we're gonna be turned up. All right, the whole flock gonna be turned up
That's right.
because so they're hastening the day. Okay, for you are all the children of the light and of the day. We don't belong to darkness and night. That's right. Confusion and chaos and wickedness. So it says, verse 6, so be on your guard, not asleep like others. Stay alert and be clear-headed. Yeah, man. All right. Um, seeing all these things take place, like Peter told us, what manner of person we ought to be. All right, with all faith and holy conversation. Okay, so while we're witnessing all these things take place and prophecy play out, um, as the believers, we have to, and the whole elect, we have to work on building up our spirit.
That's right.
Which is our character. Build up our spirit because it's gonna get bumpy. It's gonna be bittersweet, but more bitter than sweet. All right, or more sweet than bitter for the whole left as we inch closer and closer
Street.
to the downfall of America, our temptation, and the deliverance by Yahweh. So that's it for me. All right.
That's right.
Lord willing, this lesson was straightforward and edifying to the whole full elect of the nation of Israel. All right. Doomsday prophecies, deceived by those who ate your bread. Okay. So we're gonna close by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rahakudash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught us his word in truth and sincerity. And peace and mercy to the whole full elect, starting with 144,000. All right, that's also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. Above all, Kwama Allah, and Shabbat Shalom to the whole full elect.
Shalom.